On my most recent trip, I heard this amazing theostimony, this God story. Youth for Christ in some very, very sensitive nations is doing some astonishing things. Two young youth leaders from one of these very sensitive nations, and just remind you, by the way, that in Youth for Christ we don't talk about closed nations. God is in every nation, so we talk about sensitive nations. Youth for Christ leaders are training each other for relevant youth ministry in some very tough situations. I heard a story from two of these youth leaders who talked about leading a young man named Abdallah to the Lord. They led him to the Lord. He was only 17 years old, and within days he was arrested and incarcerated because he was sharing the gospel. So immediately after, all of the Christians in that community began to pray for his release because they thought, this young man, he needs to be out of there. This is crazy. We need to get him out, and he's underage. He shouldn't be in an adult prison. And God granted the answer to their prayers. They were able to get a document from the government saying, yes, he shouldn't be there. You can go get him out of jail. So our two leaders went to the door of the jail, went to the gates, and they called Abdallah to the gate, and they said, we've got a document here that gets you out. But this was his response. I don't want to get out. And they thought, well, this is crazy. What's this about? He says, well, the very first day I was in here, I had the privilege of leading to the Lord a religious leader inside the prison. And that's not the only thing. The very next day, he brought about 15 of his disciples and gathered them around me and said, share this same message of the Prince of Peace with these guys because they need to hear it. And all 15 of those guys said yes to Jesus. So Abdallah is standing at the prison gate telling this to our Youth for Christ guys. And he says, I need a few more days in here. And can you send more Bibles? Now that is boldness in evangelism. And that's why we're still on this planet. We're still on this planet to be salt and light, no matter what the cost.